this game of telephone where everybody else talks about the three names, and pretty soon it's the three names. I've never seen anything from the Trump campaign to indicate that it's only those three names. If he doesn't pick Haley, and Haley's still a prominent part of the administration, he needs outreach with some independent appeal.
It's the latest this morning. Former President Donald Trump expected to announce his pick for Vice President at the RNC this week. Trump set to address the convention on Thursday, with his VP pick expected to be announced well before then. Joining us now, after the tragic events of the weekend, I'm pleased to say, is Ambassador John Bolton, a former National Security Advisor and former Ambassador to the United Nations. Ambassador John Bolton, thank you, sir, for being with us once again. It's good to catch up with you. So I want to lean on your experience. You've been to events with the former President Donald Trump. You've seen the degree of security this provided. How surprised were you that something like this could happen Saturday evening?
Well, it was obviously very surprising. There's been a lot of commentary on what went wrong, what mistakes were made. I think it was right for President Biden to say he's going to set up an independent review. None of us are experts just because we watch it on television. I've been a protectee. I still am for various reasons. But that doesn't make me an expert on peripheral control and things like that. So I think we're fortunate that Trump was only wounded. It's a tragedy that one of the spectators was killed. But we need to do the review of this in a calm way. I think do it quickly as well, because there are already conspiracy theories about what happened on Saturday that I think are Looney Tunes, but I don't think they're going to go away until we have an independent, objective review.
Ambassador, we're going to be starting the RNC. It's kicking off right after this assassination attempt. What kind of message do you think the former president is going to bring to the RNC? Because already in an interview with the Washington Examiner, he says he's rewriting his entire speech.
Well, he probably believed that when he said it. Whether it turns out to be true is anybody's guess. Certainly the mood of the country, I think, is such that it would be the right thing to do to try and calm partisan tempers down. And that's what he may well do. It would also be to his electoral advantage. I think he's the image of defiance that he gave when he was shot. What he said since then puts him in a very good position just to be coldly analytical about it. And it would be, I think, in his interest to have a message of conciliation. Now, whether he's able to do that or not, I don't know. But if you focus the argument on what's best for Donald Trump, I think that is the answer. That may be why he does it.
You said in the past, even the highest priority for his VP pick is absolute loyalty to him, the man, Donald Trump. Do you think following these events and the fact that you said, in cold analysis, what's best for him is to talk about unity, maybe uniting the party and the country, would it be to pick someone more towards the center?
Well, Trump doesn't have a philosophy. He doesn't really do policy. So for him, there is no left, right, or center. There's only Donald Trump at the center of the universe. I think at this point, it is still possible any of the names that have been mentioned can be picked. I don't think he settled on a name a week ago. I don't think it's changed since Saturday. I think this is a constant matter of reevaluation for him up until the last minute. I always used to say that with Trump, nothing is final until it's final, and then maybe not even that.
Ambassador, one of the historical corollaries a lot of people have used for this is 1981, an attempted assassination on Ronald Reagan. His daughter wrote an op-ed in the New York Times over the weekend saying that her father had believed that she'd been saved for God for a reason, and that was to end the Cold War. This feeling of emboldenment of foreign policy, do you think Trump will feel that same sense that he now has a mandate for certain policies that he wants to push through more forcefully should he end up being the president?
Well, I don't think we can say for sure. I mean, it is obviously a shocking event to be at a political rally, to be shot at, to be wounded, to be in danger for some period of time. That has to have an effect on anybody. But Trump has a remarkable gyroscope that although he has a short attention span for many things, he has a fixed attention span on himself. And I think that using this attempt on his life as a way of proving his martyrdom and the victim narrative that he has so successfully used politically, I think he will use. Now, whether that translates into specific action if he's elected, I think is harder to say, but will he use it politically to maximize his options once elected? Absolutely.
Out of political martyrdom, Ambassador Bolton, you're describing something that seems like it could fan the flames of division within this country. How concerned are you about that? That this is a start of an era that's been bubbling back in the surface for so long that it brings it to a boiling point?
No, look, we've had boiling points in this country. One was called the Civil War. We're nowhere close to that, rhetoric to the contrary notwithstanding. I think Trump could cause a lot of damage if he's reelected. I've been saying that for several years now. I do not think he is an existential threat to our democracy, and I think it's, in fact, harmful to say that. That's the kind of rhetoric I think we could do without. I think Trump focuses on what he wants to do, not on grand historical themes, and I think his focus at the moment is very much on how to use the upcoming convention to maximize the chances he'll win in November.
Ambassador, you've questioned his fitness for office. You've clearly just drawn a distinction between doing that and questioning whether he is an existential risk to democracy. I want to understand his potential to unite this party. You are a Republican. You've worked with Donald Trump. You worked with Bush. You worked in the Reagan presidency as well. What would it take, Ambassador, for Donald Trump to get you behind him and unite this party? Is that even possible?
No, because I do think Trump is not fit to be president. It's I don't wish ill to anybody, and certainly not to the innocent spectators who were killed and gravely wounded, or to Donald Trump for what he was put through. But that episode doesn't change my fundamental view of him. Maybe he'll have a Damascene conversion. That's always possible too. Redemption is a reality. It can happen. But as of now, I don't see that that's going to change anything. I do think this event, I'm just being cold-blooded here, this event will politically benefit Donald Trump. And we may look back at the debate, the presidential debate, and now the events of Saturday and say that this was the moment when Biden's campaign trajectory went into a nosedive from which it never escaped.
If you don't think he's fit to be president, is there a VP pick that would assuage your concerns?
No, because we might still get 4 years of Donald Trump. And I worry, and I don't believe the facts have changed about the concern that personal loyalty to Trump, not loyalty to the country, not loyalty to the Constitution, loyalty to a man who told Mike Pence to violate his oath of office on January the 6th, 2021, that will remain Trump's primary objective. So we'll see who it is, but I worry that whoever that person turns out to be, they'll have given the wrong answer to that question.
Ambassador, you have a deep understanding of foreign policy and international security. A long amount of experience on those issues. Can we finish on that? Ambassador, how do you think the adversaries, the enemies of this country, will be viewing the developments of the last couple of weeks? Not just the last weekend, but for the issues the sitting president is facing as well. Ambassador, how are you thinking about that at the moment?
Well, divisions within the American body politic are a tonic for foreign adversaries, and I think they're watching this whole process very closely. They know that the United States has a fixed amount of bandwidth at any given time. We've got a war in Ukraine, we've got war in the Middle East, we've got a very divisive political season underway, and adversaries like Russia, China, Iran, North Korea are undoubtedly thinking to themselves, are there things we can do right now to take advantage of this disarray? They'll follow it through the campaign season, and I think that could be a very vulnerable time, not necessarily for the United States directly, but for friends and allies around the world.
Is there a part of the world that you're more concerned, perhaps an area you're more concerned than others?
Well, I think the one area that we don't have actual conflict at the moment is the Indo-Pacific periphery around China. We've been concerned about Taiwan, the South China Sea, China's land borders with Vietnam, India. I think if you're looking for a place where conflict could break out before November, it would be along that periphery.
Ambassador, appreciate your time this morning. Hopefully we can do this again soon. Ambassador John Bolton there on the future of this particular presidency. looking back to the last presidency and talking about some of the issues on the horizon. The chances of uniting this party, based on that assessment, incredibly difficult. The risk abroad is something we've got to talk about a whole lot more. We had Peter Schiff, the Academy, sat in that chair just months ago, talking about exactly the same thing. Enemies of the United States taking advantage of some of the issues that we're confronting over the last month.
Well, look how vulnerable the U.S. is. You talked about this last week. We're at a NATO conference. 2 hot wars are happening around the world, and yet everyone in the room wanted to know about Biden's age and what time he goes to bed. Add on top of that the weekend's event when their presumptive Republican nominee was the target of assassination attempt. The entire world is looking at an America that is deeply divided.
And look, given the politics of the world right now, I think a lot of people looked at America and still had this idea of this exceptionalism, not just economic, but to some degree politics, that we can get through the politics and you still have a better economy, you still have a better place to put your dollars. I don't think you can really say that at this point. We have as much political volatility as elsewhere in the world, and potentially more considering the gun culture of America, considering the reaction. Some of the Congress people who have come out, even VP picks who have said Biden is directly responsible for this. This was something J.D. Vance said. So I think that sort of conversation about America standing above the fray, it's a bit harder to have this
So that's the question that Pete was asking a little bit earlier this morning as well. The question that I would have in response is, okay, we got the US dollar. What else is there? Where else do you go?
I guess it's, these small things. I like how Muhammad El-Erian puts it, that these little pipes you build out, that potentially you sell more treasuries, you start to buy gold. I mean, the dollar doesn't really lose its reign, but sure, it can get challenged.
All big questions for financial markets. Equity futures right now on the S&P 500 firmer by 0.4%. The third hour of Bloomberg surveillance up next. Here's your lineup. Congressman Mike Turner, retired Secret Service agent Jeff James, former ambassador Ed McMullen, and we'll catch up with Morgan Stanley's Jim Caron from New York. This is Bloomberg.